one of the things that I did want to ask, so recently Eric Adams has suspended his campaign. Oh hell, he dropped out the race, y'all. Basically, let's just gotta tell it like it is. He dropped out the race. And my question is, do you think that there's going to be a 2020 moment where they try to consolidate around Andrew Cuomo to defeat Zohran Mamdani? Or do you think Zohran Mamdani may eke out a win by a landslide, or would somebody like a Andrew Cuomo win? Because I don't see the Republican winning. What is your thoughts on that?
Yes, they're going to try to consolidate around Andrew Cuomo. Of course they are. Whether or not it'll work, who's to say? My concern, actually, is that Zohran has already achieved AOC status. Liberals love him, which is on one hand nice, and on the other hand means he is in no way beholden to the left anymore. So to the extent that it was his strident defense of Palestine, and even more so the use of the phrase globalize the intifada, that generated 50,000 volunteers, now he can still, I believe, get those volunteers and more, including a lot of, liberal, normally normie Dem-minded people, even if he makes concessions on that same point and others. And I don't know if you saw his appearance on The View recently, where he was, as always, incredibly articulate. It's just supernaturally able to parry bad faith questions and be so warm and generous and appealing. And also volunteer that he, condemns Hamas and yada, 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 with an answer about October 7th that I found personally to be unsatisfying and disappointing. So that's just to say, I think that he's likely to win because his popularity is sort of like beyond what can be limited by a smear campaign from the right or critique from the left. But who it is that wins and how he governs is, I think, up in the air, and regrettably something at this point that I think we have very little to do with as the left.
Gotcha. I'm going to offer a slight bit of difference because I don't think he's reached AOC status. I do think that he's more getting to 2006 Obama status at the DNC convention.
What does that mean for you?
It's dangerous. That's what it means to me.
What's the difference between? Because my point is just that they're so popular with liberals that it doesn't matter what the left says about them anymore. So what do you mean by, how does that differ from Obama 2006?
Obama was a rising star. Obama, now, I mean, at the time, I wasn't really deep into politics at all. In 2006, I was, busy being an evangelical, so we weren't, involved in politics barely. But seeing how he was this big rising star that everybody absolutely loved, that he was very articulate, that he was very warm and inviting and present in the moments, and able to also dodge or turn around, questions that may be done in bad faith. It's similar to a Zohran Mamdani, in my view, to a point where those are the ones you need to look out the most for. The very eloquent, the ones that seem very natural.
So you're saying in terms of how he is, you think he's more like Obama. I was describing what his status is publicly, right? When I'm saying he's like AOC, True. I don't mean to say that AOC is like similarly articulate or anything. I'm saying the point is that it's someone who came out of the left, unlike Obama, but someone who came out of the left for whom who got elected because of the work of the left, right? DSA door knocking and organization, but who gets so big that they no longer need the support of the left to be the biggest fundraiser in Congress the way that AOC is. That's the analogy I'm making, not about how they are substantively, but about what it means in terms of our opinion as leftists and how much accountability to the left they'll ever have. And Obama never had that relationship, coming out of the left in that way. That's all I was saying.
Okay. So I was going the same direction, but not in the right lane. Sure. My apologies. But I do see some on the left still saying we should give him a chance. And I get it because there's nobody else running. And I fault the third parties for not running the candidate.
Well, it doesn't matter. Give him a chance. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Because we don't have a choice. If I were living in New York, of course I'd vote for Zohran. But that's not, I mean, he can do whatever he wants to do at this point. He can say whatever he wants to say. For him to lose support, he would have to while out so crazy that I think that I just don't know. We all just have to wait and see because there's nothing we can do about it. Because
that's true. Yeah.
And then, to be critical of him, even at this juncture as a leftist, is to risk your own sort of credibility, right? Because it is true that, I think he's no longer talking with the aggressive, do not give a fig attitude that made it so many of us, really adore him. That I'm not going to Israel. My name is Zohran Mamdani, Zohr, doing the little spelling thing. It's you better learn my name. The globalized intifada of it all of that. So he's no longer doing that. But is that sufficient to say, I don't trust him? I think more so than other people, even he has a plausible case for saying, hey, I got to say what I got to say on The View. What did you want me to do? The audience was with me. I was already winning, and for me to argue against that, which I have, but for me to say, well, you're up 20 points. That moment on The View was a moment for you to explain to the they're already with you, so use your cultural capital, your social capital, to actually call out the lies about beheaded babies or whatever the hell Alyssa Farah is saying to you, and call out Joy Behar when she for some reason is why, or I guess it was Whoopi Goldberg who was why are you so against rich people? We're not the ones that are hurting the city. What happened to every billionaire is a policy failure. That was a moment, arguably, potentially, to give a lesson on why it is that we do have a class politics. But reasonable minds can disagree on that and say, Briahna, what do you want him to do? Burn down The View? And so, that's why I feel I have my skepticism, but I'm just going to sit here and see how it pans out. And I hope for the best because no one can deny he's incredibly talented. And he's very well brought up, and people have been citing things that his father has taught and said. And, I'm hopeful that those lessons are well learned.
I have my skepticism, strong skepticism. I think I will, I guess it is just a wait and see. But I want to be wrong. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, always. I wouldn't be wrong. I would have loved to have been so embarrassed as I was screaming that Kamala Harris was never going to be for real about Gaza, was never going to support an arms embargo, was never going to. I would have loved to have been so wrong. I would have loved, when I was saying she's going to lose because of Gaza, I would have loved to have been wrong, not because she won and then was still a genocide heir, but because she won because she actually flipped on Gaza. I would love to be wrong about everything because being right, I have my accountant the other day. I talked to him because, of course, I file late because that's how I live my life. And we hadn't spoken in a while, and I have also been worried. He's Jewish, and I didn't know if he was Zionist, and I was not trying to have that conversation with him because I like him, and we talk about my job when we get on the phone with each other. And it came up. We had to have a call, and he brought it up. And, he was like, I guess it's, do you think it's a genocide, Briahna? I was like, I don't think it's really a subject of debate at this point, Seth. And he was like, yeah, I think I have to concede it is now too. And I was like, all right, welcome to the party. But like, and then he was like, he called my mom. She's him too. And my mom calls me like, what did you say to Seth? Because he was so depressed. And it's because I was on the phone with him. He asked me and I told him. He was like, well, how do you think things are going to go? And what is the world looking like? So I told him. And it wasn't a happy story.
But it was an honest one.
Yeah. But like, I'm just saying, I don't like being right about stuff. And I hope that I'm completely wrong and Seth has nothing to worry about.
Me too.
And we're about to enter like the Pax Romana and it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that I'm also, that's something I'm contending with right now too, because there's a lot of contention right now and I think a lot of it's online, but there is a lot of people that may still be kind of on the fence because they're surrounded by people who may be steering them into a different direction that is more pro-Israel than it is pro-liberation. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you'd like to see any more, you can look here. 1. Forehead kisses. Have a beautiful